you all for being able to join today. We're going to talk today in this webinar about managing expiring documents. So there's a couple different ways that I want to share with you that I've been thinking about. And then if we have time towards the end, talk to you about how you are doing it today. And maybe we'll actually get a little bit more into that in the, in the following calls. We'll talk about auto actions actually next month. So we will, if we have time, we will talk about this, and you know how to reach me otherwise. Cool. So today on our agenda, I want to just make sure everybody that's on the call and watches the webinar later understands how documents in SAM work, because you can upload documents a couple different places, just how to manage the documents in the system. And then I want to show you how to create visibility to expiring documents, what might not be readily set up in your site. Through subforms, I'm going to show you how to handle that and to add those subforms onto, or new subforms about expiring documents onto Family Portal as well. Then if we have time for all of these things, I kind of have a lot, so I should not warm up so long. I would like to talk about reports and how you can pull reports of documents. So that is another management tool of documentation. You'll also need that report, in my opinion, for auto actions to share. Here's the list of documents that are going to be expiring in the coming month or 2 or 3, whatever your time frame is, that you can share with families or your team. And then certainly if we have time, any Q&A as well, if you've got questions on this. So I want to, first things first, talk about document handling in SAM. I want to make the point that documents can be added through checklists. They can also be added through document upload fields through other forms. Common places you'll see that are background checks, parent education, the home study document is on the home study record. You probably also see it on medical exams, dental exams, things like that for the youth, maybe even for the family or birth parents, if you're tracking that information. So all of those areas and the document section itself all then go into the document repository. And so in a second, once I get through this slide, then I will show you where those are. In my opinion, document dates and details of the document really are then managed by your team inside that document repository. So that would be like the signature date, the approval date, expiration dates. Those kind of things are not really given to the user to be managed on the home study form, for example, or on the background checks. So I think once the document's actually uploaded, those other spots are sort of a retrieval of the document to bring some ease to getting the documents retrieved, and then you can manage the document in the document section. But also, who the document is for in the document notes section, adding that for someone's name, for example, documents that relate to persons in home, or the background check documents. So I'll kind of show you now what that looks like in the system. So when I talk about the document repository, I'm talking about the sidebar link here. So this is available on all entity types that come with your system. And if you were to build a new entity type in your system, that is also already automatically set up. It is the spot that documents are listed. It is just a long repository of documents. I'm taking us to this family record because I have a few documents. So as I upload the documents here, they'll be more easily recognizable. Let's see though, if I go into this family here under their documents section, you can see it is a really long repository, and this is just 10 out of 22 records. I can actually view more, and we see lots of documents here. I have these subforms organized to filter to specific types of documents, and that's what we'll talk about next. Let me jump back over here. So other places that documents can be added to this record, besides here, would be on the checklist. So this document here, let me actually go to something a little bit simpler. This adoption agreement. I'm actually going to go in here and upload a document. And pull in some of these images here. When this gets uploaded, we'll see it here on the checklist, but then we're also going to see it in the document repository. So right here it turns blue, and we can definitely access this document here, right, by just clicking on the link and see the document here. But we can also see it now if things are set up properly, which for the most part Sam is enforcing that with the prompts. It's only should there be any changes that have taken place afterwards that sometimes we see administrators just forget or need to like reconnect the settings if things change. But what we can see here is the document type that we've set up as the admin is added in a document record, and we can upload that same document, or download that document here as well. The thing that's getting added right now is the receive date. I noticed this morning the receive date gets added from the checklist, which is great. I also noticed that if I upload a document through a document upload form on another form, which I'll show you now, this doesn't get entered. However, I created an auto action and that remedied the situation. So let me jump over here and show you what I mean by that. If I were going to add parent education, okay, so I choose my education type, I say when it's completed, and then I actually upload another document into the training certificate. This is an example of a document being uploaded on a form. So I can see that document here through parent education. But if I go into documents, go here.
They're like, it's like trying to get you to go to your living facility. So like when you discuss, they call you.
No, sorry, somebody is
going to mute in about 60 years.
Folks,
right? Like, I know I have hot flashes and I use a cane, but no thanks.
Okay, got it. All right, cool. So if you are, shucks, let me go back because now I've lost my place just a little bit to make sure that you understand. So when we upload a document over here through a subform, parent education, I can download the document here where it says open document, but I can also see that document being added into the document repository. Because I've got, your team will need to decide what's going to work for you as far as how much detail. So one of the things that I notice here, and actually the receive date in this site is being entered. So I'm trying to remember what I did earlier. It's fine. It should be entered. That's my assumption. If it doesn't get entered, the fact that this gets uploaded and this is not, an auto action can be entered to enter the receive date as the current date. Okay, so it can be remedied. But what I notice here is that some people may want it to say what parent education record this was in the document section. And the system just is sort of simplifying it when you have a single document upload field that is pulled through a subform. So you could add the type of training here. Okay, that is a way that you can manage your information. The other thing that I'm thinking here is if a driver's license gets entered, right, into the site, be it from here or from anywhere else, like a checklist, which is going to be pretty typical. One of the things you're going to need to do here is come into this and manage the document. Okay, so managing and saying, you know, it's 5/6, I don't know, 2022, so that the system will be able to support you for these expiration dates later. You can see that I have a subform built right here. I just need to refresh, and the document, the way that this subform is filtered, which I'll talk about in a little bit as well, just shows documents that have an expiration date, and it's been added down here. Okay, so a lot of management of your document types needs to be added here. And I think our next upcoming conversation here in a second about filtering and creating subforms is going to be super helpful for you. in seeing documents a little bit more clearly in this document repository rather than a really long list. Okay. I do recommend that you have a list of documents on the ready for your team of things that expire so that they know either what to look for, or we use that list in our filters to, even though it doesn't have an expiration date as of yet, it sort of still moves down: passports, driver's license, insurance information, pet vaccinations, anything that has an expiration date. It moves it down into that subform about expiring documents so that your team, again, has clearer visibility to seeing those documents that are going to expire. Now, right here, I wanted to make this super clear. The home study licenses, clearances, they are more than a document. These are processes. They take months at some points in time to complete. And yes, absolutely, there are documents, and those documents do expire, but it is an entire process in and of itself. And so it needs to be, I think, separated and used in the record tracking functions that it has as a separate component. So if a document like the home study is updated, let me go to this record. So you get a home study here and you add a new home study record. Come on. You add, or you have a home study record, right? Or add one, and you upload the document. This document, actually here, it's not exactly set up right, and this is what Sam is warning me about, but this document will be uploaded into that document repository. Okay, it is accessible here, but when we think about the home study needs to be managed here with a separate record. This has to happen at the onset of you communicating to the family that there is a home study that needs to be done, or it's time to renew their home study. You add a new home study record, and that entire it's a process. It's bigger than just the document. The document is one article of that process. And we've got lots of webinars on the home study process. And if you have questions about that, definitely reach out. So let's see. Okay, so let's now talk about setting up the visibility of these expiring documents. I've shown you what I mean by separating it, but I want to, not do that. I'm going to go here. I actually want to show you how to build them as well in this webinar so that you can rewatch it, do it yourself, or come up with different ideas and connect with us if you needed further support with getting it done quickly. So by default, let's say for new sites, I think by default, there is at this point a family documents, which is going to be every single document that's uploaded from all those different areas, right? The 3 different spots, either here, the checklist, or subforms or other forms where there's a document upload field present. They all get added into this section. But I think in new systems, you'll also find a subform that is specific to those documents that are in this repository with an expiration date. So let me show you how the subform is set up. It's through Form Customizer, and subforms sort of look like this. Like, they don't have to be in this horizontal layout, but they do generally and always have this little dotted ant line around it, a dashed line, so that you can see where one subform ends and another begins. This is the one that I want to use, and there's a small little link here that allows me to edit it. Also, right next to it, I can remove it. If I click remove, I am getting a prompt, so you have to double do it, right, to get rid of it, but they're close, so be mindful of the small links, always watching that. When I go into this specific subform, I want you to be aware that you can get back, because this will be a list of all the other forms that actually utilize this subform. Okay. So I can get back to where I was from here. It also is showing us the criteria or the filters. So this is what I've already built, but should there not be any filters on your subform, which if you're building one from scratch, which I'll do in a second, it won't automatically be there. So I want to show you how to get there. You can get here to edit it, but under advanced options and then really advanced options, the first option or function here is filters and criteria. And this is what's going to limit, instead of us again seeing the entire repository, we're wanting to see some of the documents, specifically those with an expiration date. So Sam is giving us a list of all of the fields on the documents table. And I can choose what I want to filter by. So because again, we're talking about the expiration date, that very much makes sense. And I've got an operator rather, of where that expiration date is not empty. The other filter that I've added is a field that I've built called updated record available. And I've got it as, I think, a checkbox. It could be a radio button. But it tells your team that this is actually a historical document, even though, yes, it has expired and has an expiration date. It's not the current one. Right? So if we had a driver's license that was uploaded in 2019, but expires in early 2020, we need to have received the new driver's license that is issued in 2020 that'll expire in 2022? I think they actually go longer than that. Whatever the time frame is, right? When that expires, we need to then, we actually have the ability to track both records. Now that's a choice. You may actually decide you just want to override the old one. Sam will, in that case, through modification history, make the historical one available to you. But if you want to actually store the historical record, so you have 2 driver's licenses for one person, I think a field that lets your team know that this is historical at this point is important. I don't know if you guys have a better phrasing for it, but I've come up with like either the updated date, right? This new document has actually been received and putting a date on it, or just a check mark. It's kind of up to you. Let me see. We got a chat here. If you do not have that field, we will build that field. So again, at this point, it's sort of making a choice of, do you want to add a date on it? So it kind of triggers with that received date of that driver's license, or do you want just a check mark? I've gone, honestly, both ways. You're welcome. I've gone both ways. And I think it's sort of cultural with your team, what you think works. But I do not want to see those that say yes, right? In my list of expiring documents. I honestly don't care about it anymore if I already have a newly updated version. Okay, so enough said on that part. The other thing that I'm thinking here is, again, I mentioned it a little bit ago, this list of documents that expire, right? Our driver's licenses, our passports, and they definitely expire on off times, right? So the home study that expires, it's annually or biannually for some folks. The clearances annually, biannually, right? Like these things have a set, but the driver's license, passports, maybe even like my medical insurance is on a September rotation, and it really might not be somebody's calendar year or line up perfectly with your home study. That list of documents you might also include here, where again, it's now going to be the document type equals driver's license. And at this point, you're going to put where it matches any or some, and we'll say we absolutely want this. And we absolutely want, well, actually, this would be, we actually need to enable filter groups if we want to do both. So this would be, pause. Let me disable that, as I know I go really fast sometimes. So I want to make sure you guys see that, and let me zoom in. Down here at the bottom, there's this option, little lavender link that we love. ish, it allows you to have more advanced filtering. Let me put this T down. Okay, so what this will say to us, for us, is, actually, I'm going to move this to B, is over here, we must have all of this. All of this must match. We want the expiration date to be not empty, and we want it to not be the historical record, right? So it must match all of this. And we can set this where it's like results must match any group. And here, so it's going to say it must match all of what's in A, or it must match the document type equals the driver's license, or the document type equals, I don't know if I have passport. I don't have passport. What else might I have in here? None of these other things. I'm going to pretend that it's document 1, okay, is like the passport, that it expires. And these are going to remain in OR. So both of these sections, this is getting a little advanced. If you need support on this, totally happy to help you. The first criteria is like it's got to, because it's an and function right here saying I must have this. But if we also want to include that list of other documents to support our team with the visibility of making sure that they're managing the documents well, we might also want to create that document list. Okay. And you'll set some role to do this, whether that's the case coordinator or adoption advisor, whoever, licensor, whoever is managing the documentation. You might even have in your checklist sort of a, have you done this? Have you, all the home study documents have been entered? Have you gone and managed the expiration dates of these? That could be part of your process or a process off to itself. Okay. I think this is a great way of showing this, and it will help your team see this. So now in this form customizer, we're actually seeing a more advanced way of seeing the filters. Okay, but the subform is still here. When I go here, you can see, I don't know if anything's going to have yet changed, but I'm going to add a document type where the document type equals document 1. And I am not going to put the expiration date. It doesn't even happen to be on this form. And we can see that it's here. You can see here, I don't have the expiration date, so I need to go in and add it as 8/7/2020. No. Home. Let's do delete 12. Okay. So it's there. The other thing is again, once this driver's license here has been updated in 2022 and this gets added, you are going to come back to this and set this as, yes, we've got an update record available. And when you refresh, you see how it's remaining? It's because of this setting here. So I need to go back and change. Oops, I clicked the wrong thing. These are the records that have this, but I want to go and edit them. Over here in this section, I have to add another one where the upload available equals no. So now that I've got that one set as yes, now it will go away in a second. And when I say go away, it comes out of this subform, but it does not go away. It's right here. It's in this repository that shows all of them. Okay. I think that part's going to be the most confusing for folks new to the filtering. You have to make sure that you're somewhere incorporating all the documents in visibility on your forms. However, if there's a challenge and you don't see it, you can use documents. And I think this is a perfect, nope, I haven't done everything I wanted to do. I have more to say on this part, but okay, pause. You can go to documents. Documents are linked generally on the sidebar, and this will, of course, depending on how you have it filtered, it will show you all of the documents there. So you don't have to worry that you've lost the documents just because you can't see them on a form. reports will show them if they exist. Okay, we will come back to document reports shortly, but
I think Janelyn had a quick question in the chat on the.
Yep, I already got to that.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
Yep,
sorry.
Thanks though. Yeah, thanks for watching out for me, Jessica. There's a lot going on. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to talk about adding a new subform. So on this site, I'd already shown you that the subforms already exist within the family file, but I looked and it doesn't exist on the family portal. So under settings and my public form links, I'm going to actually access the family portal. And I'm accessing it through the form customizer view because we're going to come in here and build this. So I just want you to see kind of what's going on this form right here. I've got some subforms. I'm like sharing some basic information with them. I've got communications shown. I've got parent education requirements. So I think this must have been added at some previous webinar. But to put that in families' visibility, again, first thing they see, this is sort of all choice for you as far as how you'd like to set up the portal. And then I guess we have something about domestic workshop training. I just don't even remember building this, but I'm pretty positive that I did. Obviously it's here. So we're going to build another subform on this, but we're going to build this based on family documents, and then we're going to use the filters that I just talked about to show specific ones. Okay. So under advanced options, there is an option under these subforms to add a new subform. When I get in here, I think that Sam is giving me a list of all subforms under the family that exist. So if I had already built one, I could come in and pull that on. There is actually one for expiring documents, but I'm going to show this to you first thing, right? So if I wanted that one, I click this, I press save and go. But I might also create a new one. And I'm just going to refresh the screen, reload that screen so you can see that, because it won't do that if I just click here. So that's a little create new form down in the bottom. And then you have to choose what table you're building this off of. So again, we're building it based on the family documents. That's the kind of information that we're pulling from. From here, I'm going to title the form anything related to your family portal or whatever portal or application you're building, or, you know, I like to label these that in a way that coordinates so you can see them. I think it makes it a lot easier to find. If you just title it whatever it is, it might actually be kind of difficult to find. It just doesn't roll in the list. It's alphabetical. And that may help you if you remember what it's called. If you don't, I will show you a way to look for things, but this is easier. So let's call it, because we have one that's called expiring documents, so let's call this documents with expiration date. Okay. And on the section title, this is kind of the heading for it. And I can now type in expiring documents down here. We are at this point going to be showing all of the records that expire. So that is a multi-record subform. If I were doing a one at a time, this is only going to show one, right? One record. That's not going to work for us if you have multiple driver's licenses that expire, multiple insurance cards that expire within the next 3 months, something like that. We are showing this. So we are giving the end user a view form. And I'm going to set it up as a single row so it's nice and clean and tight and keeps as small a margins as possible. I also really like the way that the single row tends to line up for now. So at first, we haven't chosen any fields to be shown, so we're going to do that. I can, when you build a brand new form, you can click here. This is going to take you right here on the sidebar to add a field, exact same place, okay? Either place that you choose. We're not choosing family fields. We are choosing fields about the family documents. So I could sit and pick poke, right? Each one. But I also like to use over here, this little lavender link, add multiple fields. I like to use that a lot because I like the checkboxes. I like to just select, I want this, 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 this. So remember, we internally as a team look at documents with more information than we're going to share with our families and our clients or volunteers, right? So again, depending on what portal or end user functionality you're building, you'll really won't utilize all the same fields. Right? It's kind of like, think back to your paper forms of like the staff use only. That is what you see internally in SAM. Everything else is what the family will see. So we're going to share with them maybe the document type, and we're going to show them the expiration date so that they have an idea of how long do they have. They have 3 months till this driver's license expire, but they have a month for that to re-upload the home's health insurance information. This is the view form. So I actually think that's it on this view form. Families, end users cannot download documents that have been uploaded into the system. They don't actually have the permissions. Even if they uploaded them, they don't have the permissions to re-retrieve them from the system. So the other thing that we might show here actually is document notes. All right, so adding, what was I going to say there? Adding the document file link, that field not really going to be helpful because they'll click on it. I think it's going to take them to the SAM login page, and then they're going to be very confused, right? They're not going to know what's going on. So I'm now going to reorder it, putting it as like driver's license, the date it expires. And I've got document notes because, again, in managing the system, I might want to have said that this is parent one, or this is, I forget my Kim Cooperman, right? Is my family name versus the person in home, Jason that lives there, whatever, right? The teenager, whoever lives in the home. So letting them know whose it is that's going to expire. Okay, so this has visibility now. Let me go over to Cooperman, and
He's
I'm
the
going
tallest player in the NBA.
copy this, and if you will
The
give me a second.
Celtics, and
Hey,
that's the Orange Bear team.
quiet down. Thank you. Okay. Hopefully the webinar can't hear me yelling at the kid at home to be quiet. I don't think that you guys could. Let's see. Okay, so I grabbed their email so that I can come over here and actually log in because I want to show you as we build things. I want to show you what I'm building. So I'm going to open up the family portal, stick in their email, and log in. And so if you remember now, all I've done is build that subform. So it's not actually filtered. I haven't done that part yet, so we'll go back to it. So you can see now I have a new subform on my family portal, and it's called Expiring Documents. But it is showing all of our documents here, which of course we don't really want to do. We have to add that expiration date on to make it, to reduce what families are seeing. So let's go do that now. If we go back here, remember under advanced options, really advanced options, filters and criteria. Here I might add, we might actually here even limit further than what your team sees, right? So your team is seeing all those documents that have an expiration date so long as they're not been updated. We might actually want to show those that expire in the next 2 months, okay? So let's go change the operator to not within the past. This is going to be within the future, but we are going to include the past, and we'll do 2 months in the future. Here we'll also put in that update record available equals no, right? So again, that's how our team is managing it. And we're not even showing that data, this updated record available to the family, because that term doesn't even necessarily it's not super clear. I really want you guys to help me come up with what's the right term for that. But now if I go back here, I don't think that we'll see anything. So we're going to go to their family record and play with their expiration dates. Oh, they do actually have medical letters, right? Whatever this is, this document here, there's their expiration date and it's upcoming, right? It's actually in the past, it's actually overdue at this point. But yet we don't have a way for them to add a new document. So a couple of things that I might recommend that we do is, one, put a messaging for them. Like if you see a document here, we need you to click the add button, right? To update this document. If you see a doc here, please. Okay. Putting some space, I think, helps. I'm going to show that so that you're all clear of every time I make a change, it shows up automatically, and you can communicate within the forms to the family. Hopefully that helps reduce some of the calls. So let's go and link up the add form to this form. Under advanced options, under form properties, we're going to go and click add this form. And this form is not yet set up. This subform is not set up as a public form. So I'm actually going to go do that first so we get the right form that we want. Under advanced form properties, there's an option to set it as a public form. Public form, by default, all the forms are set as no unless you choose it. But I think for subforms, we didn't have that choice. Now if I go back to the form, I'm going to go here and select this form. So, and I'm going to add the plus sign, the little add button in the section header. And I'm going to say, I'm not actually going to let the family, at least right now, upload, maybe, or edit the form. Maybe I will. So I'll show you that too. Press save, go back here, and then refresh. One thing I don't know if people do, because I'm not sitting with you while you're building necessarily, is do you have multiple tabs open? And maybe instead of me phrasing it like a question, I would suggest that you do have multiple tabs open so that you can toggle between the two. If I were to move this off into its own tab, I can use Alt tab as a hotkey to get back and forth. So I can quickly see my changes, and I can go back and make changes. Okay, alt tabbing between the two. So now I've got the add form, got the upload, and we might go in here and say, yes, I'm showing this. I want to add a medical letter, and I'm going to enter in, I think this takes a second here. Grab that document. Right? Your family is pulling that from their local drive, so they have it, and then I'll put it as 8/1/2021. And press save. Okay, and so I've got that particular form taking me back to the checklist. I've got that way down here, the family's checklist. I think I've got expiring documents down here as well. However, if we have to think about that from the end user's perspective, if we're showing this subform in multiple places, we need to have different add edit forms so that they're taken back to the exact same spot that they left. Otherwise they'll be confused. Okay. I'm not, because I know what's happening, but I felt like I needed to, in case you guys had gotten lost right there. So we really want to take them back right here so that they see that document, but they won't actually see that document because it doesn't expire soon, right? So trying to think if we want to change anything about that. We could have that add form, that family add form, say that it was added through the family portal, and then it would be shown. Or that it was entered today. and then it would be shown. So you can kind of play with that if it feels like you need to make some adjustments on that. I think that's it on this part. Right, and we talked about the label in the expired documents. Okay, so now I am going to jump into reports because I do want to show reports to you and make sure that you know how to use those in as far as documentation goes. So the reason I've got here, I want to create a report, and then I also want you to utilize these report menus under the tabs. So this happens to be under the family tab, and making these expiring documents reports really visible for your team so that they have a central location to access. Some teams are going to have lots and lots of documents. This is going to get filled up, or I'm sorry, lots of reports, and this is going to get filled up really quick. It may not be as usable, or you need to have a more generic report that sort of is like all programs and all social workers so that they can then filter on theirs. Okay, let's jump in here. So the report builder is found under settings, report builder. And the first thing that I want to make sure that you guys are aware of is how to search, right? Because this is a really long list. Some agencies have an incredibly long list of reports, and they're only in alphabetical order. Well, not only, they're also divided by entity type. What's the main entity type for the report? But basically, they're just alphabetical order, and people can name reports whatever you want. So it's not super, like if you didn't build the report, you may not have any idea what that report means. But the system will help us with that. So these filters here, filter by the table, and we want to look, again, we're talking specifically about family documents. Click here. And we see the list is limited now to just those documents that apply, or excuse me, those reports that apply to family documents. So again, because you can see, maybe you can see, I've looked at this a couple of times. So what do we have? 6 reports here, but this one is about expiring documents. This one's about expiring documents. This one's about expiring documents. So I'm gonna right click over here. Get rid of those things. I'm going to open all of them. Now I right click, open a new tab so that I can toggle between. What is going to be important is the memo, right? Who uses this, and specifically like the filters as well. So this report, what I can tell here is a family document has to have been entered, and the document expiration date is within 2 months, but we're actually in this filter excluding those in the past. So if the document expired yesterday, we're not actually seeing that on here. So I would probably suggest for expiring documents that we have it also include the past. But again, so long as that historical document isn't there, unless you just want to look at the future because you know your data and your records are up to date, you don't need to look at the past anymore. That's also totally possible, and that's great news, you know. You can open reports here. There's nothing in here. Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to including the past and open that, and we see the 4 families that we keep seeing. These expiration date is not actually even on here, which is kind of funny. So I'm going to go in here and add a field at the end. I'm going to choose family documents. I'm going to add the expiration date. So it's just a click of a button. Let's see what's going on in chat. Is it possible to have a filter between 2 dates, and if so, how? Yes. So let's look at this filter again. Okay, so now I've got this going on here. Let me go back to this and change this. So maybe we want to say the expiration date is greater than, I don't know, 8/1/2020, and the document expiration date is less than, I'm going to do 1/1/2021. 2021. What? There we go. And so the reason that I've got these laid out this way is to talk about them. So greater than 8/1 means that we're only going to be pulling documents that expire 8/2/2020 and above. So you have to back it up one day. So it would be, is there 30 days in July? Okay. And this one I set up better, meaning that I'm getting everything through the end of the year. So your dates are going to be different. You will do those dates, probably use those a lot if you're on a fiscal calendar. And I don't even have any documents that are in that time frame. 2019, 2018, 2011, 2016. Right. That totally makes sense, right? So we can see these documents. Now, let me look here. I'm going to change this. Edit field value from the report. I don't know if you knew you could do that, but you can. I'm going to now put this in a time frame, in a date that should apply now to this report. And here is that one document. So the reason that I am sharing this with you is because I think the last thing that we're going to talk about on the call today is setting up an auto action to notify your team or the family themselves about, or both, the documents. So right here, last thing that I want to show you is a couple ways that you can add these reports to those report menus. So you can add it to your own. So as an administrator, I just built this. I might really want this report and I'm going to add it to my menu. What that's doing is putting it on my home page. So me, right? Only it's affecting me. It comes down here at the bottom. As an administrator, I can go to settings, report menu builder. And I will see a list here in a second of all the report menus that I actually can create a brand new one, create one from an existing, or edit an existing. So I'm going to edit an existing report. And this is going to be all of the report menus that are built in the system. So it's either folks that have had report menus in the past, generally users, always a user in your system, or some that we may have set up to when we have interns, this is what we want them to do. When we have board members, when we have licensing, these are the reports that I want to be accessible for those folks, right? So when there is a role established, you can give that role a report menu. As soon as that user adds a report to their menu, it creates what's like a custom menu. So I've already got it on mine, but if I went to Sally Social Worker or any of the others and click in, and then I'm going to add a report here. So I can add new or create, but I'm going to add a new report and I would find that report. I wish in here there was that list, but I noticed that it's not. What was it called? So what I can take is this, because it's not expiring, Control F, using the browser's find function, find it. So grabbing the name, and then I'm pressing Control Enter. You can go to the bottom to save. And now anytime Sally Social Worker logs in, she will see this report on her report menu. So you can let them know. As an administrator, I can also manage the report menu here. Same steps are going to take you through when you click edit, add a report, and do that same thing. Okay. That's really helpful. Again, another way to manage expiring documents. So as a caseworker, I can just look at my report with all my caseload and see what's about to expire in the next 2 months. I can manage it that way as well. So I don't have to hope I'm getting the right family or guess which families might have things that are expiring. If I've managed my documents well, they'll show up properly on the report and I can just access the report and I just see those families so I can make a call, especially if they're overdue, right? To make sure that you guys in your audits are staying up to date. Okay, let me go back. I am going to transition now to notifying clients. So your very first thing you'll need to do is decide when and who you want to notify, right? So we're sort of talking, when's the right amount of time? Is it 3 months ahead of time? Is it 2 months ahead of time? Is it different per document? Is it 6 weeks, right? So you have that ability to make those decisions when you will write your message. I have been recommending more and more, especially folks that are new, have a Google Doc or a document outside of SAM that really lists a lot of your documents just laid out in a single, it's going to end up being a book of documents, but making it so it's fast and easy to find. I think that's a good way of going about it, especially for folks that are quick in the process and trying to build these. Once you've got SAM and SAM is your primary place of process, you probably don't need to do that so quite as much, but getting your message written, and then you will set up the auto actions to email. So that we're going to do now. Let me click all of this. So I'm taking us into just the auto actions. Auto actions, again, are up under settings. And then there's a link that says auto actions. You'll click there. First thing I like to do is, again, use these filters at the top to figure out, do I have something already? So I can click send an email. You may already also have things that exist that are disabled. So you might click this link of view disabled actions too. When I do this, we can see the difference. So anything that's bright blue is a link, it is enabled. They're actually all links, but it is an enabled auto action. So it's happening and triggering when it gets triggered. And it depends on when it gets triggered. This that's in light gray here, it is disabled. So it is built into the system, but it is not, it's not enabled, right? So it's not happening. And I looked at those specifically around sending an email, because that's what we want to do, right? We want to notify and communicate with folks. So I should have changed the auto action name, but I didn't. I already reset this up, make sure I had enough time for this. So I'll change that in a second and show you how. Let me frame up what's going on in the auto actions page. When you create a new one, Sam's going to take you through the steps, and I believe it actually takes you in this specific order. So what action do you have? What's the specific table? What is this about? And so I've got this, again, we're talking about documents, very specific. We're not broadening it out too much to the family. We're talking very specifically about different documents. The trigger, I've got this set on a schedule. So what is it? Every week on Monday. So I don't need it to really go out every day. In this case, you may change that. If it becomes expired, you send a message. You might actually want multiple, right? So you've got this going out on Monday. However, if they don't do, if the client or your team doesn't get to that specific document, they don't get that data entered, having it the day that it expires, another email go out, that could be reasonable as well. So it might be you have one for every week, so you're prepping them, but then you have another one set for every day when. And so when is the filters. The first one that's very obvious are these, or the first two are these two that we've talked about multiple times. Same exact functions going on here. I'm looking at all of those that have expired or are about to expire, or have already, and do not have. This is a different site. I'm in my master site versus that get started site. So I'm using a slightly different date, but again, same concept. This document, when was it received? That again, I'm not looking at the historical document because that's old news. I only care about the most recent version of that document. So I've got those two. The other thing that I've added into this one, because this is about the adopted family, is that their child arrived home date is empty. And actually, I'm going to go and change this, which you can always do. That's a little bit even too much. They may not finish placement. It just may not happen. So I'm actually going to do where the case close date is empty instead. I think that's a better fit. because they may not make it to an adoption plan and carry that forward. So they may withdraw, and we don't need to do anything with those. And especially like families that are in a home city only program, you may not even be tracking that part of their journey, right, in your database. Okay, so this is the when does it happen is what the filters are telling you. And as you can see, we really still have these same families, these same 4 families with their same documents. We could always look at it by this little, I don't know if you guys can see that when it's super small, but this little view records matching this criteria, it pulls up those lists. This is a great way to test if your document, if your filters are set up right? If I know that I don't have that many families that are gonna fill the be in this group, but I'm showing thousands, I need to adjust my filters, or vice versa. If I've got none, but I know I do, right? So these are good tools to utilize. Sam, when you're creating it, it's going to ask you what action do you want to take. Of course, we're sending an email at this point, which is why you need to have written that email, and you need to have created a template first so that you can easily come in here and choose that template. And of course, we built the report first before we even set up the document. I'm going to go here under advanced options. You can edit the template. So I have pulled the specific template that I want onto, the specific report that I want onto this template. And the way that I added it is over here. This is based on a multi-record template, and I don't think this is where I'm going. That is font stuff. Ooh, interesting. Very, very interesting. Insert all fields, Okay, so what I'm realizing, I had to do a little bit of like changing on this template. If it is a multi-record template based on family documents, which is a multi-record table, Sam acts differently in the template. So you could really build this template based off a case. And when we do this, I'm going to go ahead and create that template. Expiring documents. I'm just going to base it off the case, and I'll show you what's going to end up happening with that auto action. It's going to be based off the family and based off the case, or it's really just based off the family and includes the case table. Here, I'm going to grab all this, paste that in there. And right here, I'm just going to delete that because what I want to show you is this insert multi-record section. So you've got 2 options here, as you could insert that documents, that template based on the documents that I created. That's not really what I want, but I really just want to show a report, and so it's considered a template report. And here, then I would go down to where the report, the way that I named it, because again, it's based off the naming convention that I gave it. And then I'm going to show you here what this looks like so that you can, just what the email looks like from the family's perspective. Where am I? Williams. Gosh, I think this is a family. If I go to templates and I go to expiring documents to family, they've got quite the list of expiring documents in this record, right? So some of these things, I think actually this is just showing all of them. So it looks to me like I need to go and edit the template. Okay, and a way that you edit the report, you can't actually edit the report. So what I recommend is copy the name. You do not need where it says template report : go to settings, hit report builder, use the browser function to find that. And then we're going to play with the filters. So yeah, this happens to be just using all. And so we'll set those filters here. family documents, document expiration date. What is it? Within the future, including the past. And I'm going to just go to 2 months. And immediately once I save this, that report is changed. If I go here and refresh this, we're reduced to this one document here. Okay. And this will go out every week on Monday. The other thing that I wanted to talk about on the auto action was, do I want it to execute more than once? This is super important. As far as what you're wanting it to do, right? So probably the majority of your auto actions don't happen more than once. It's going to be set to no. But in this case, every week, we want this to keep going as long as we've got these expiring documents. So because we want it to repeat, we've got it set to execute more than once. Otherwise, it would do it once and never do it again. And obviously, that's not going to be very helpful. Okay. I wonder if I refresh this, that's not changing because I haven't changed that one. Because I created a new. So yeah. Let me see. Do I have anything else for you today? I do not think I have time for notifying you when docs are received. Unless you guys have time, I could go ahead and do that. If you want to chat, let me know if you want to see that. I think that's super helpful, but all of December is about auto actions, so we'll totally talk about that too. Do you have any quick thoughts? Anybody really dying to see that or need to go? Lisa, yes, you would like to see this. When I was talking to Megan and showed her, and it's in the foster care side, and she's like, you will love this. Lisa will want this everywhere. So, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that then. All right. I want to say a lot of times documents are uploaded through the checklist through the family portal, right? The checklist is built, and then you're showing the checklist to your families through the family portal, and they're uploading documents. Well, that's going to give you kind of a weird, or basically it's not going to give you any notification, let's say, until you set up this auto action to let you know. So your team's really going to need to be managing and looking for that. So let's see, do I want to show you anything else? Let me show you this. On the checklist, this is the auto action that I'm going to show you. And again, I'll redo this again later. So we're going to do it based on home study agreements. And I'll have to work my way around here. So this is a section that we might want our social worker to be notified when the family's done both of these. So the reason I'm showing you this is to say when both of these things are done. And let's also give you the terminology here. This here in this box is a checklist section. These are checklist items. These also, aside, they are also fields, right? But when they're used, when a date field is used on a checklist, it also is a checklist item. And they are in a checklist section. So I'm going to create an auto action to notify when all of these are done. Notify our social worker. And I'm going to go to my template designer first. So I right click and open in a new tab a lot, and I end up with many tabs. I think it's super important to clean it up later. Let's see. Home study agreements is complete. Okay. And I press save. So I just named it, going to the family. And really, I don't even know that I need anything on the case. This is just a simple message of, let's do family name. Family name has completed the home study agreements checklist section. Access their checklist through their form, right? So I would use for team templates enough information to let your team know what they have to do next. Don't make them guess, right? You're setting up the process. Tell them what they have to do next. Insert a form link. Okay, so under advanced options, insert form link. This will allow us to pull the cover page. I don't know if it takes us to the checklist, if we have that option. So I'm going to leave it, I think, there. Let's see. Family. I don't think that it does. And probably because the checklist is sort of a specialty form. We don't have tons of control on it, except for what we want to be shown on it. Okay, so that's my message. You can, of course, make it formatted the way you want. And honestly, like big, bold, making this larger, nobody needs to strain. Okay, that's helpful for your team. Maybe not for your families because you want it to look professional, but for your team, letting them really know what to do and be able to see it quick. Okay, so settings and then auto actions. I'm going to create a new auto action. And in this case, I am going to set this up as home city agreements complete. I'm just naming it. I don't want this to happen more than once, so I'm not going to check this. So I'm going to leave it as no and press save. This is going to be done on a schedule, and I want to know, not weekly, but I want to know when it's done. So at this point, you can set it on hourly. I think it runs every 5 minutes, the scheduler sort of in the background, but that's probably a little much too. It depends on how urgent, right? So an incident report might be super urgent. You want to know about it. That I'd actually set up as on an update of something. Daily might be fine for this. Daily at 8 a.m. or at 2 p.m. or something, right? You'll make a choice of what you want. Then we're going to tell Sam what to look for. So under here, we're going under the case, and then we're going under the checklist to the checklist section. Okay, so now I'm adding criteria to tell Sam what it's looking for. So that's the checklist section is what's triggering it. Now it's going to feel a little bit redundant. I'm going right back to it. And is that right? Is it here? Is it here? And I'm getting a little confused. I will go back to night lights where I set that up for them in a second if I don't get it. I think it's actually the checklist date, and we're going to use this operator for all is entered for an entity. There we go. This is what I'm doing. Yes. And under the case, so I was right in the first time. It gets a little bit confusing, so I'm glad I'm recording this. The checklist section name equals home city agreements. So when the checklist section name equals home city agreements and all the dates are entered for an entity, we're going to send an email to your team. That's a really important one, is that all entered for an entity. That means anything under post-adoption reports, parent education, all the clearances that once you've got all your records in and everything's done, wrapping up an email, or wrapping up and updating a field on the home study that all of the existing background checks are done. Trying to think if there's anything else. All the persons in home documents are in there, things like that, like areas in the system where you have lots of different records. That's an excellent spot to put that. Let me see. I'm pulling, what was that called? Oh, home city agreements is complete is my template. And then do I want to send it to the family? Not in this case. I'm sending it really to my social worker's email address. And I could BCC or CC other folks, or not even CC. I can only send it to. I might use the system default account for sending team emails. Confirm before sending is going to pop that up. In this case, going to the team, probably don't need that. But I do generally recommend when you're to confirm before sending when sending to the family. And this error sometimes comes up because this is based on the specific table of the checklist section. And this template was based on the case. I'm not even sure if I need to have it on the checklist section. What I want to do is find our family with, so let's go here. All family reports, and I'm going to go to a report of my case checklist sections. And I'm going to look for the checklist section name equals home city agreements. Great. So I've got families that have it. I've got my family that I use all the time. And I'm going to go here and write, this is really coming in from your family, but I'm going to enter it here. Okay, because it could go either way, right? If you get all those things done in a section that are your team's responsibilities, what do I want to say? If you get all the things done that are your team's responsibilities, you might want to send a message to the family. You might also want to update on the case stage or another date that says, yes, all these things are done. So I'm not seeing any change here, and we should see. So what I think I'm going to do is change this to the case. It makes that alert go away. Does that give us our family? Does she have, they only have it once. That's all done. Let me go. Lisa, do you mind if I jump in? I'm only going to look at your administrative stuff to make sure I've got that set up right. Okay. Let's see. Get out of here. Let me go here, jump in here. There we go. Over here. Into settings. And I added it under the foster family. Someone's sending an email. And then case checklist. Okay. And Megan and I did test this out. Okay. So I've got it actually triggered under the foster family case checklist. So let me jump back to my site. If I change it from here to the case checklist, still not getting that family to show up. I wonder if there's a little bit of, let's check this auto action one more time. Nope, that's the name. The date is all entered for an entity. Does this match right here? That should do it. So, well, that's like super disappointing. Let me play with it. I'll have it ready for you in December because it does function. We got this going for, this is Nightlight site for the team for the Colorado. We did a couple tests. I can't remember. We probably don't want to go in and play with their test records, but this functions. So anything under this particular section shows up. We'll create a video guide to make sure that this part shows for you that you can replicate this because, again, I think Megan was super excited for you, Lisa, that you'll have all of those different checklist sections that you have, being able to replicate it. So let me figure out what I've done that's differs from this because it doesn't look that different to me. Yeah. Yeah, I bet. Cool. Okay, so let me jump back then. I'm going to get rid of this. Jump back over here. Come over here. Okay, this is what I want to wrap up on. Escape and go back and present this. Just making sure you all know where resources are. So once this webinar is buttoned up and uploaded to YouTube and all of that good stuff. We will add it to our help guides in the webinars. So let me show you where you can get that. And when you click help, you go into webinars, we will post it. This will probably be in, I don't know which one, auto actions. It'll probably be in checklist, family portal. It's going to kind of be in several so that you can find them depending on what you're looking for. You can always, contact support. You can contact support through here. We do have a YouTube channel. It's always helpful when you subscribe. If you see some new video that's come out, we are creating them regularly so that, because that's the way humans are communicating these days. And then all of our webinars are posted online under inreachsolutions.com/events. There are 3 for December that are coming out. And I think we're really going to focus on auto actions. People really need them, and it really preps you for 2021 to stop doing the same things, right? To do the look for, and so I guess, let me say this, in preparation for December, be watching over the next couple of weeks. What are you doing that's manual? What manual emails are you looking for, writing that you wrote to another family? Those we can find in your process where they go and automate them, which is, we preface that today. So yeah, in December, 3 auto actions webinars, December 1st, our 2nd, 9th, and 16th. They're all going to be at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So I hope you can join. Does anybody have any last minute questions or anything that you want to mention on anything that we've talked about today? It's quite a lot. All right. Then thank you so much. I appreciate you joining, and I will talk to you very soon. Take care.
Thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.